Not here. Yes. Then we can continue with other presenters.
Okay.
And then if he comes, I have open.
Professor Yaşar Sarı.
No. I think we have this video.
Var mı Gürkan?
Görmedim üstüne.
Hayır, göstermedim.
Onunla başlayalım. Kim varsa orada bunları gördüm benim. Onunla başlayalım.
Şahin'dan Hasan.
Şey.
Ahmet Ahmet. Okay, once again we are back. We can open up the first session of the Congress. The main topic of this session is emerging strategic security landscape in the Black Sea region and the Balkans. As far as I see on the screen, we are right now available Shahinat Hasan, Jamia Millia University, New Delhi, Ahmet Tanver, Delhi University.
Right.
Okay, now nice to see you. Their title is Redefining Global Security Towards a New World Order for Peaceful and Sustainable Security in the Balkans and the Black Sea. Okay, the stage is yours.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I hope the presentation is visible. Shall I start?
Yes, please.
So Shaina will start with the presentation and I will then continue. Thank you.
Yes, please start.
Please start.
Our topic is redefining global security towards a new world order for peaceful and sustainable security in the Balkans and Black Sea. Before starting the presentation, I would like to briefly mention about world order. World order is the element of power and authority which provides framework for conducting of global politics among nations. And it comprises the norms, rules, institutions, and power dynamics that shape the behavior interaction of countries and other entities on the world stage. Now, shifting dynamics of global security necessitating a re-examination of the current world order. The recent conflicts and geopolitical tensions, such as those in Gaza and Ukraine, have highlighted the inadequacies of existing global security frameworks. The growing divide between the global north and global south, creating ever widening gaps, often leading to conflict. The diminishing influence of traditional institutions like the United Nations, the veto holding countries, are not aligned to seek powers to other emerging economies and countries. The rise of alternative powers and models, especially in the Balkans and Black Sea regions, resolving frozen conflicts outside established institutions and regions.
So here I'd like to add some points. Recently we have seen in conflicts like in Gaza, where we can see the moral bankruptcy of Western nations that have not been able to resolve the conflict, or not even speaking for conflicts that are emerging, and hence there has been growing tension in the southern world or global south that West is not ready to cede some authority and resolve conflicts which may be against their core interests. So similarly, even we have seen in the case of United Nations, it is basically like a repeat of League of Nations. That initially what happened after World War I, when League of Nations was made, it fell short of expectations of resolving conflicts. Similarly, after 70 years of United Nations, we see similar repeat of circumstances where United Nations and especially its veto-holding powers are unable to resolve conflicts. And we have seen in cases like the frozen conflicts of Nagorno-Karabakh, where the Minsk group was unable to resolve conflict, and countries themselves like Turkey, Armenia, and Azerbaijan had to resolve their own conflict, and major powers had accepted that the present conflicts are okay as they were. So now we'll discuss about the division of global north versus global south. There has been widening schism between global north and global south, and it has grown recently with the rise of the south. We have seen China taking great leaps, and countries like Turkey, India, and even Russia taking greater leaps, and which has created widening gap. The issues that are coming from countries like Western Europe, especially with the coming to power of people like Donald Trump, who have clearly shown that West is now not ready to lead with its own ideas of liberal international order. China recently has become a trading partner to 120 countries, and there's been growing interest among Latin America and African countries in BRICS plus bloc. And we have also witnessed recently Latin America, which was a part of US zone of influence or Western zone of influence, has been recently moving towards left of centers, which has been said as to be a pink tide. There has been growing prospects for bridging the gap. African countries are trying to get free from the neo-colonial grip. We have seen this in case of Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger, which are strictly opposing the new colonial ideas of their erstwhile rulers like France. As I already mentioned in the first slide, there's a declining relevance of institutions like United Nations, which appears to be League of Nations on repeat mode. So we'll discuss about the critique of Western influence. West faltering moral compass, exemplified by Gaza conflict, as I mentioned about in the introduction. They are as ready and willing to destroy any institution that goes against their wills. They are ready to strangle their own liberal international order. We have recently heard in news about the alleged threat to International Criminal Court judges and prosecutors who were trying to show that they were attempting towards liberal rule of law, as in case of the recent charges of arrest against Israeli leaders, which were severely criticized by Western leaders across the board. And there was news as far as that they were threatened that ICC was actually established for African nations and Russia, not for Western countries. So these all suggest that the liberal international order, which were promoted by West, itself is unable to carry that idea. Several scholars claim that Russian concerns in Eastern Europe lie at the core of Ukrainian conflict, and all mechanism of previous liberal international order, those institutions that are made post-World War II, failed to manage conflict or were even at willful disregard of all those mechanisms. As I already mentioned, political meltdowns in Western countries like Mali and Burkina Faso, as well as budding interest in which signify growing restlessness and impatience with the present scheme of things among Latin American nations, among African nations, and among other global South nations. For example, India, which has been strictly criticizing the idea that more than 15% of the population does not have a seat at United Nations, or other countries of Africa who have no representation, while 60% of issues discussed at United Nations are basically of Africa. Now, this small map goes on to show how conflict has become a part of global South, and it has been entrenched in conflict often. These are results of earlier colonial stages that global South was part of. If you see all the orange dots, these are basically, majority of them are part of global South, be it the Israeli-Palestinian issue, be it the India-Pakistan-Kashmir dispute, be it the border issues between India and China, be it border conflicts between India and Pakistan, all are legacy of colonialism that these countries faced. Some authors contend that terrorism has been fueled by the long trajectory of Palestine-Israel conflict. If we go into the roots of the growth of terrorism, as has been said by several scholars and authors, it is mostly related to colonial legacy of conflicts that were left unresolved, so that global South continues to be embroiled in conflicts and is unable to grow at the pace or compete with West. Similarly, in the Kurdish region in the Middle East, all these are basically unresolved Western colonial context. African struggle for new colonial legacies, the control of their currencies by their former colonial powers, and French violent ambitions neglected by global institutions that are meant to ensure peace, while those institutions that were established by liberal international order and West to resolve conflicts have neglected these major issues that are plaguing global South countries. However, it is also a drawback on our part, the countries of the global South, that even after 70 years, major and emerging powers have to come out of the shadows and resolve these conflicts and create smooth working relationships to move ahead. Now, I'll discuss, as I've mentioned in my presentation, I'll also discuss about the emerging cosmopolitan hub. It can be argued that why cities are so important in the idea of a new global order. Cities are catalysts of change in the world order. They are the centers of innovation, global trade, they are cultural melting points. They define trends and movements. They inculcate policy innovation. They lead to political mobilization. And they are core of diplomacy and soft power and give us entrepreneurial ecosystems. Last 70 years have been defined by major cosmopolitan hubs like Silicon Valley, New York City, London, Paris, Berlin. Now, to establish a new or alternate global order that is equitable, there is a need to challenge the dominance of Western metropolises because they will be at the center of trade and travel. Turkey and Middle East capitals, due to their unique geographical locations and strategic locations, can be re-energized cosmopolitan centers like Istanbul, Doha, Dubai. There is need for leading countries in non-Western global South like China, India, Russia, and emerging African countries to show leadership and promote interconnected and open cities while preserving their own unique identities. Now here I'll discuss about technological advancement. Last few years have seen enormous growth by global South. For example, in China has been pivotal in technological advancement. Similarly, they have seen enormous growth in defense structure in countries like Turkey, and huge manpower has been provided by new emerging powers like Brazil and India. Technology will be at forefront of a new global order, just like Navy was at the core of growth of colonialism. Big tech and artificial intelligence companies basically are today's neo-colonial tools. Market control leading to effective control over policies of weaker nations through information control. Today they have complete infrastructure control. They define cultural hegemony because they have complete control over information. Several times algorithm bias has been seen in all the new softwares that are coming, and due to the humongous amount of value and technology access, there always is a barrier to entry for smaller countries because there's such huge gap between a nation or an entrepreneur from Africa or global South to those of West, that there's a huge barrier to entry, which goes on perpetuating inequalities. And West has been prioritizing in services to their own areas, which has been perpetuating these inequalities and inequities. And there's need to challenge those current mechanisms and current existing institutions in technology. There's a need for concerted efforts to promote technological sovereignty. We can no longer be in control of the technologies and institutions of West. And we need data protection and equitable technological policies in the global South. There is no other way to promote equitable growth in technology other than by taking control and promoting controlled, responsible, and ethical AI. I would here like to bring it to your attention, for example, in recent case of OpenAI, which has been growing at breakneck speed, completely disregarding all ethical and responsible norms for AI. And we, as countries of global South, are just mute spectators in this growing threat to our own societies. Now, moving on to economic recalibration. There's a need for equitable economic relationship with the West. There's a need to transition towards reciprocal benefit and reduce geopolitical dependencies. There's need for better financial regulation, fair trade policies, increased transparency, and debt relief, which has been plaguing African and South Asian countries. Today's growth of capitalism is set to be hypercapitalism, which is driven by profit maximization and uncontrolled market forces, often aided by tax avoidance policies, because they define the policies and it is their house and their rules. So there's a need for equitable distribution of authority and power. There's no constant coincidence that majority of the downtrodden are found in the global south. And we can see one of the key fallout of that is growing climate concerns. For example, yesterday, India breached more than 50-degree temperature in summers. In spite of all the hoopla and words, due to intensive hyper-capitalism, there is no concerted effort across the world to check the concerns from climate change and global warming, because there is intensive growth towards profit making rather than equitable sharing of resources and equitable sharing of concerns. Current trade balances and debt dependencies severely impact South. While the consumer base is in South, if you see the population of South, including China, India, Indonesia, Nigeria, Pakistan, these are the new consumer base. But still, all the profit goes towards West, because there is limited access to technology and economic growth is not equitable, while we face the brunt of all dependencies of climate change and all other fallouts. The scholars contend that Western reliance on convention.
Excuse me, Mr. Ahmet Tamer, you are exceeding the 15 minutes limit. Could you roll up your presentation, please?
Yeah, sure. So similarly, as I've already discussed about technology and AI, we need to calibrate towards innovation and big tech. The core foundation of growth is deeply related in American and European colonization, and we need to move towards more equitable balance. In the figure I've just added, we can see global market share, the humongous share of complete control of one or few technological behemoths goes on to show that there is an intense need towards more equitable order. Data is a new oil, but this change won't happen unless we make it happen. Similar issues are there in military affairs and power dynamics, but the growing proliferation of nuclear technology in global south reduces the strong powers of West, and now global south also has some equitable power, especially in new military growth in countries like China, Turkey, India, and Pakistan. Impact of the Ukraine conflict and NATO involvement on global security needs to be reassessed. There is a reluctance from global north towards resolving conflicts and addressing competing concerns in countries like Russia, Israel, Black Sea region, and Africa. And African nations look towards sovereign powers like China, Russia, and Turkey to challenge this Western control. For example, efforts by Turkey and Russia and Mali, Burkina Faso, Niger, etc. Now, finally, last two slides are there. So regional cooperation in Black Sea and Balkans. There is need to decouple from northern hegemony. These countries are block of smaller countries, and they need to work with smaller nations and other regional groups to progress, because the Western notion of the Westphalian order and liberal international order has been continuously growing at the fear of others. So these nations need to move towards their own strategic interests, and these can be more successful by regional cooperation is best poised to help the region grow rather than one-sided intervention. Local regional powers like Turkey are better suited to engage and resolve issues and must be promoted. So finally, to conclude, I would like to re-emphasize that there is a need for redefined global security framework. It is essential for fostering peace and stability. There's a need to collectively advocate bold and collaborative initiatives. And more so, there's a need to take control. There's a need to take control of global south, so that more south and south cooperation is promoted, and investment in indigenous technological innovation is promoted, and policies are advocated that reduce global dependencies. So basically, to end, I would like to say why is basically continuation of politics by other means. Today, nations believe in use of hard power. The world, and especially Black Sea region, will continue to witness conflicts as well as high-pitched diplomacy. Turkey's tough balancing act reflects its desire to protect its own security interests. Here, I'm just adding an example of Turkey to show how we need to take control of our own countries and our own regions, rather than continue with the old order, which is no longer just and ready to cede power to the new realities of the day. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you very much, Shahinat Hesam and Ahmet Tamer, for this very comprehensive presentation. Now I will turn to Lieutenant Colonel Dr. Asad Mahmutan, then later Dr. Gökanak. Now it's turn. Lieutenant Colonel Asad Mahmutan. Can you hear us?
Assalamu alaikum.
Asad Mahmutan, can you hear us?
Yes, sir, you're audible. Am I audible?
Yes, you are audible. We can hear you.
We can hear you, but we cannot see you. Maybe sometime
Is your camera on?
to activate your camera.
Camera is on.
Camera is on, but we cannot see you anyway. Are you going to share presentation with us?
Sure, sir. I'll just start, and meanwhile, I'll try that this visuals are also there. I'll try. And first of all, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. As far as the Pakistan is concerned, and maybe the early hours in Turkey. My name is Colonel Dr. Asad Mahmood from Pakistan, and I am honored to be here today. And I'm currently working in Pakistan military and did my PhD in international relations with research focused on African studies and the role of major powers in different scenarios. Before I start, I would like to extend my heartfelt gratitude to the members of Istanbul Air University for organizing such a great opportunity and fostering insightful dialogue and collaboration on such a critical and timely subject of Black Sea region. So I just share my presentation right now.
I beg your pardon. I would remind all the participants to limit their presentations within 15 minutes. I have to remind that. Thank you very much.
Sure, sir. Is it visible now, sir?
Yes, we can.
Yes, we can see. You can continue.
Clear.
So today I'm going to present my topic, that is the navigating strategic security landscape in Black Sea region using a multi-theoretical analysis and the prospect scenarios to conclude. This is a summary of the abstract. This paper intends to delve into the intricate strategic security landscape of Black Sea region, employing a multi-theoretical approach to provide a comprehensive analysis and explores the competing interests of global powers, evaluates potential future scenarios, and underscores the region's significance in shaping international security dynamics. Before I start the layout of the paper, I'll just quote Alfred Mahan, who said the control of seas and especially along with the grid lines drawn by the national interest or the commerce is the chief among the elements in the power and the prosperity of nation. It is so because the sea is the great medium of circulation. This is the layout of my paper, introduction, statistical framework, research methodology, and a few discussion areas and the findings, and focusing on the multi-theoretical application and the potential future scenarios with recommendations, and finally the conclusion.
Excuse me, Lieutenant Colonel Assad.
Sir,
we only see the first slide still. Can you move the slides?
Sir, sure. I think it's. Is it visible now?
Slide is visible, but we are at the first slide. We couldn't reach to the second one.
Okay, let me
should have seen the second slide if I'm not wrong.
If you guys full screen, maybe we can see.
I don't know the issue. Because शेयर नहीं हो रहा. इस पे खोला हुआ, इस पे खोला. वो कह रहे सिर्फ पहली स्लाइड शेयर हो रही है. एक एक करके क्यों हो रही है? एक एक करके नहीं, वो ऑनलाइन है ग्लिच. चेक करें.
Okay. Now we can see the layout. Okay.
Okay, we are fine now.
Sir, I just read that the layout of the paper, the introduction, theoretical framework, research methodology, important discussion areas and the findings, multiple theoretical applications, and the potential scenario building with recommendations and the conclusion at the end. Now coming to the introduction. Gentlemen, as we know, the Black Sea serves as a strategic maritime corridor linking Europe, Asia, and the Middle East, and the critical regions for trade routes and the military strategies, where the major powers like Russia, NATO, Turkey, and the European Union have significant strategic interests and in the Black Sea, thus often leading to the geopolitical tensions, particularly once the Russians' annexation of Crimea in 2014 significantly alerted the regional power balance, and moreover, the recent Russian-Ukraine war in 2022 onward has also increased the strategic importance of the Black Sea. We see predominantly the corridor for energy transit and supply chain management with pipeline lines transporting oil and gas from the Caspian region to the Europe.
I think your partner once again. Sorry for interrupting. I do apologize.
Sir.
Lieutenant Colonel Assad, still your slides doesn't move. We are at the layout right now.
I don't know, sir. What is the issue?
Quite a presentation, so we do not want to miss the rest. Can you make it full screen?
Yes. Is it visible now?
Yes, it is visible, but it doesn't. Right now, we see the introduction. We see the introduction right now. Now it's changed.
Okay, sir. No introduction is visible, sir?
Yes, it is visible. Yes, introduction is visible right now. We can continue.
Sir. Now, coming over to the statement of the problem, I hope it has changed.
Yes.
Thank you, sir. As far as the annexation of the Crimea by Russia and the ongoing conflict in the eastern Ukraine has led to the increased military activities as well as the disrupted trade routes and economic activities, impacting the regional economies vis-a-vis inviting conflicting interests of major powers, including Russia, NATO, Turkey, and the European Union in the Black Sea. Thus, it leading to the more complex and challenging environment in the Black Sea region. Few research objectives which were kept in mind while focusing the discussion part, focusing the mapping of the interest and the action of the major powers, constructing a potential future scenarios, mainly the strategic security landscape, and proposing the policy recommendation to mitigate the risk and promote stability in this Black Sea region. Just a word with regards to literature review, a few gaps which were identified. Those include the insufficient studies on the long-term strategic implications and the overall strategic dynamics were the limited integrated in the analysis, insufficient exploration of Turkey's role as a balancing act in the region of Black Sea, and need for the more comprehensive scenario planning and the limited practical framework for the implementing the conclusions or the recommendations for the upcoming events. Theoretical framework and the research methodology, as I already highlighted, it was focused with multi-theoretical approach using realism, liberalism, constructivism, Marxism, and the game theory, while using data analysis using game theory models, including the prisoner's dilemma. And while making prospective scenarios, it was the dominant strategic analysis kept in mind. And obviously, the central question remained how the major power action shape Black Sea security and what future scenarios and policies can promote stability in Black Sea region. Here is a few list and of the variables and their relation which were considered while doing this research. Mainly the independent variables that was the major power actions, their geopolitical interest, and the sanctions and economic.
Excuse me, could you please change the slide? We still see the introduction slide. We are at slide number 5. Please.
Acaba şey mi yaptı? Kendi bilgisayarından belge paylaşımı yapıp kendi slaytından başka belgeden, yani farkında olmadan, ama bu nasıl?
Yok, o değil.
Okay.
İlerlemiyor yani. Şimdi
İlerlemiyor.
sistemsel yani.
Yes, the full screen will be great because of the internet. I think you cannot change properly, so we cannot hear. You cannot see. Sorry.
Right now,
Variables and relations slide is visible.
we see slide number 10. Okay.
Okay. So we were discussing the variables and their relations with regards to this research. Mainly the independent variable focused on the major power actions with geopolitical interest and sanctions on the economic policies, which are highlighted in the black on the right side of the slide. While the dependent variables included the regional security landscape with strategic security and economic stability aspects, and few contributing variables like moderating international cooperation and international energy supply chain security and domestic political stability and the public perception with regards to confounding variables and economic impacts and sanctions, and the strategic alliances with regards to mediating variables, and the historical context for as far as the controlling variables are concerned. I hope slide has changed. The important
We are at slide number 10.
It is now moving over to the important discussion areas and findings. I'll just mention the aspects which have been discussed in the paper and the gist of conclusions made through those discussions, so that to save the time. And first of all, it is the intersecting interests of the power players. With this research, there could be many more, but I have just mentioned or selected or identified the major power players as Russia, USA leading the West, China as emerging power, global power, the Turkey having a major role as far as the Black Sea is concerned, and the international organizations like European Union and the NATO have been identified as a power player for this research. With regards to their further, we have divided in two aspects. One focuses on the strategic security landscape, and the second, in a gray group, it is the economic, energy, and supply chain concerns with regards to all players. Now, if we just focus on the strategic security landscape and we see each country or each major player, it has like Russia, it has a strategic control expansion, the military presence to dominate the area and expansion of their influence zone to safeguard their backyard, and also get into the influence of this major corridor, the energy corridor, supply chain corridor of the world. As far as US is concerned, it is leading the western side and making the geopolitical influence, and wants the regional stability to be intact and get into the position, into the backyard of the Russians to counter their aggressive policies and the potential economic supply chain managements. Their economic and energy supply chain concerns are the energy security, which is the major concern, and wants to reduce the Europeans' need on the Russia to get into the more influential state. While China has, it is not directly into the game, but because of their uh, emerging role in the world politics and the strategic security concerns on the landscapes, they become a potential power player in the region, making strategic partnerships and investment in the region with different scenarios and allies. And their major concern with regards to expanding trade routes and economic institution influence, like initiatives like BRI, plays a major role while developing and contributing their interests. Turkey has has emerged or has a role of a regional leadership role, and it plays a very vital place between any of the major players, may it be the Russia, may it be the West, led by the USA, or the Europe, the Eastern or the Western Europe. It has a major, a pivotal role to play within the region and address the security concerns in the Black Sea region. Obviously, they also look for the secure trade routes and energy supplies for their concern and for the regional stability concerns. As far as the European Union and the NATO is concerned, they both have mainly the focus is their expansion and the influence to counter the major the power player in the region, the Russians, and to control the energy supply chain routes in the this Black Sea region. Now, with regards to strategic triangles, there could be many triangles or the quads as well that can play an important role in the discussion. But I have just selected few triangles to highlight the strategic dynamics and the security landscape of the region. Sir, I hope the slide has changed.
Unfortunately.
Okay. Firstly, we see the Russia, Turkey, and the China. And here I would like to mention again that the strategic triangles, as far as the major definition or the concern is concerned, it is where two powers, once they get into the collaboration, they pose a threat for the third. May not be ideally possible here that we have created the triangles, but these alliances also make a triangle that makes a potential threat for the major players in the region. So Russia, Turkey, and China, it is also alliance as well, and strategic triangle in the region as well, which focuses on the regional supremacy and the geopolitical influence. While Russia, Turkey, and Europe, it is an ideal strategic triangle where Russia and Turkey, they pose potential threat or potential hindrance to the European Union. And if any two collaborate each other, they make a potential threat for the third power player. And they also concern the energy routes and the regional influence in the region. As far as US, NATO, and Ukraine is concerned, again, it's alliance as well, and strategic triangle as well. They have a security concern and a military presence to get into the backyard of the Russia. While Russia, China, and Iran may not have that direct impact, but as far as I already mentioned, the alliances, they also shape the strategic triangles in the future of this world scenario building. So they have a geopolitical alliances, energy and trade, and the military cooperation in focus. While USA, European Union, and Turkey, it's a strategic triangle that focuses on the alliances, economic and energy security concerns in the region. Now, coming over to the multi-theoretical applications, I'll just here again mention the theory, their major aspects, and a major application with regards to the study is concerned. Now, the realism, it focuses on, as we know, it is a state-centric or the national interest-centric theory, which focuses on the state policies, power and security, anarchy and the conflict, and the balance of power as an aspect. And the application, we can see the state-centric, every nation, every player has its national interest and the security concerns for their own sovereignty and their own dominance. While power security, every player is pursuing and for the power and the security dominance in the region. And as far as anarchy and the conflict is concerned, the lack of central authority poses challenges for all potential powers in the region. And the balance of power is achieved through the expansion and the potential expansion of the Russian and the Russian influence in the Black Sea region. As far as the liberalism is concerned, we see the aspects of international cooperation, economic interdependence, institutionalism, and the democratic peace, the major cardinals. While the application role of NATO and the European Union in promoting the stability, as far as the economic independence is concerned, the trade and economic ties are in play, and institutionalism is concerned, the mediating the conflicts and the fostering the cooperation within the states in the region, and the democratic peace is concerned, it fosters stability through democratic governance in the region. As far as the constructivism is concerned, the major aspects are considered are the social constructs that leads to the identities, norms, and the social constructs of the major players of the states, and the national identity that leads to the historical narratives or the pre-conflict or the pre-opportunity concerns of the states, and the norms and ideas which reflects the international norms and behavior of the states towards the issues, opportunities, and the conflicts. And interstate relations, that is another aspect which leads to the social interaction and the perception being built in the region of Black Sea. With regards to Marxism, mainly focuses on the economic exploitation, capitalism interest, imperialism, and dependency of states, or like economic dependency and imbalances in the region we see with regards to the Russians and the energy supply chain towards Europe, and the vice versa. Where it is important to highlight here, the Black Sea region, it is the energy boulevard of the world.
You are exceeding the time limit. Could you round up your presentation, please?
Sure, sir.
Thank you.
Game theory, it reverses the strategic triangle, zero-sum games, prisoner's dilemma, and leads us to the dominant strategy which we have built for this construction. I'll not go into the details of zero-sum game analysis. I'll just straight away move to the dominant strategy analysis that have led us to the scenario building. Here we see the four possible scenarios: the mutual cooperation, if the West they cooperate and the Russians the defects, and the Russians cooperate and the West defects, and the mutual defection. After this manifestation and application, we get the four potential scenarios with regards to the Black Sea and the region. First becomes if it is a cooperative, both mutual cooperation, then it becomes the cooperative security framework, that reduction in the military tension and increases the regional stability and economic growth and the enhanced diplomatic relations are in play in the region, while if it is the Russian-led, then it continues the tension and military build-up and increases risks of confrontation and persists potential economic instability in the region. While the third, if the West, they lead the unilateral dominance and the escalation. Again, it persists and serves an economic disruption and humanitarian crisis and long-term geopolitical realignment and instability. And if both defect, then the economic isolation and regional fragmentation is in play, and which is the major concern of the study. Here are few recommendations. I'll just narrate the strengths of diplomatic engagement in the dialogue: enhance military transparency, promote economic cooperation, address non-traditional security threats, enhance energy security, environmental protection, and engage external actors constructively to regain the stable and a progressive situation in the Black Sea region. I'll just take a few minutes to conclude. The Black Sea region is a strategic security landscape characterized by the competing interests of the global powers, presents both sufficient challenges and opportunities for stability. And the research concludes that while tensions and the conflicts are prevalent, these are pathways for cooperative security frameworks and economic development that can mitigate risk and promote the balanced multipolar order in the Black Sea region. I thank you all, and I'll just say sorry for interruption and inconvenience because of maybe because of the net or anything, and again taking a little long. But as you know, all theoretical theories application, it was not that easy to sum up here. But still, I'm grateful for the opportunity, and thank you thank you everyone.
Thank you very much. Lieutenant Colonel Esat Mahmutan, your presentation was quite illuminating for us. The strategic triangle approach and also the theoretical framework that you have put forward. You know, everyone knows that theories are to explain the reality, but they are apt to their time, and they are searching for the answers of the questions that the previous theory couldn't answer. So they always emerge as a reaction to the previous one. But since there is no meta theory in the international relations, we have a bunch of theories. So a multi-theoretical approach is quite a productive way to explain these kind of complex issues. Many thanks. This was quite illuminating. Right now, according to the schedule, Professor Yaşar Sarı is shown. Yaşar Hocam, are you available for today or tomorrow?
I don't know if technical conditions permit, I can do today, but I prefer to do it tomorrow.
Okay.
Maybe physically I will.
For tomorrow. Okay, for tomorrow. Many thanks. Right now, available is Dr. Gökhan Ak with the title of Applicability of the Concept of the Responsibility to Protect from What? The Case of the Russian War on Ukraine. Dr. Ak.
Günaydın efendim. Hemen paylaşmaya çalışıyorum.
Okay.
Geldi mi komutanım?
Geliyor. It's on the way.
Tamam.
Okay, we can clearly see right now the slides.
It's available.
Thank you. Sayın komutanlarım, kıymetli büyüklerim, hocalarım, öncelikle herkese merhabalar, günaydınlar, selam ve hürmetlerimle. Bu etkinlikte tüm emeği geçenlere gerçekten çok teşekkür ediyorum. Sizleri de ve saygıyla selamlıyorum. Birlikte olmaktan da büyük mutluluk duyuyorum.
Hoş geldin.
Çok sağ olun. Yanınızda olmak isterdim. Öğleden sonra hemen yine bir Arel Üniversitemiz bana etkinlik planlamış. Oturum var. Farklı bir yapay zeka ile ilgili. Ona da katılacaktım. O sebeple gelemedim. Kusura bakmayın ama ilk etapta ziyaret edeceğim sizleri. Dear colleagues and participants and students, I would like to share all my good feelings with you from this Istanbul morning with my all best wishes. I am Assistant Professor Gökhan Ak from Istanbul Topkapı University, Political Science Department. My topic, as shown on the screen, applicability of the concept of the responsibility to protect from what the case of Russian war on Ukraine. In this study, the legality of Russia's war in Ukraine is discussed around the principle of responsibility to protect. As known, international relations and politics have come a long way in the last 10 years. The fact that global powers remain silent to each other when their own interests conflict as well as overlap has begun to question the existence of international organizations and the virtues of the international community. Worse still, all these reckless military interventions, even leading to war, have painfully revealed the invalidity of the principles of international law and the void of sanction power. Russia has reduced the war it launched against the Ukrainian state in February 2022 with two main reasons. To stop the actions of Ukraine, which is committing crimes against humanity, amounting to so-called genocide, against the Russian minority living in this country, especially the people of Donbass. And Russia's second claim was to protect the Russian minority from Ukraine's years of alleged oppression, humiliation, various human rights violations, and even genocide. The principle of responsibility to protect was adopted by the International Commission on Intervention and State Sovereignty in 2001. According to the responsibility to protect, any state is primarily responsible for protecting its own people or the people of another country from crimes against humanity, war crimes, or ethnic cleansing. If a state cannot or does not want to fulfill this responsibility, the international community can take measures, including the use of collective force through the United Nations Security Council. Responsibilities for prevention, reaction, reconstruction, and post-crisis justice are also included in the responsibility to protect notion. However, the principle of responsibility to protect is thought to be not different from humanitarian intervention in reality, other than rhetoric, because it is thought that the principles of the responsibility to protect the sovereign equality of all states regulated in Article 2/1 of the United Nations Charter and the principles of non-interference regulated in Article 2/7 are ignored and violated. Therefore, two possible findings of this research are as follows. Neither the concept of the responsibility to protect nor the concept of humanitarian intervention is legitimate and compatible with international law. Secondly, these two concepts seem to be the most pragmatic examples of the dilution, perforation, and rendering dysfunctional of international law in the context of national interests. As for conclusions, it is concluded that in this research, based on the provisions of the 1948 Genocide Convention, it is impossible to talk about a systematic genocide against the Russian minority in Ukraine. And therefore, Russia's military operations in Ukraine cannot be legitimized in the context of the principle of the responsibility to protect. The principle of responsibility to protect does not mean creating new and legal obligations. It should not be overlooked that the strengths of the principles are its ability to create political pressure, often against mass atrocity crimes. In other words, the principle of responsibility to protect is a political commitment because it promises to end crimes against humanity, ethnic cleansing, war crimes, and the crime of genocide. That's to say, a solution to mass atrocities. Despite everything, Russia has declared that the main purpose of the invasion attempt against Ukrainian territory is to protect the people of Donbas and the Russian minority in the country. In order for the occupation in question to be legal and valid in the context of the principle of responsibility to protect, it must be authorized by the United Nations Security Council. And one of the crimes against humanity, war crimes, ethnic cleansing, or genocide must occur. However, there has been no authorization for the intervention by the UN Security Council. On the other hand, the investigations carried out by the UN, OSCE, and other international non-governmental organizations and the reports they prepared as a result of these investigations, apart from the existence of individual incidents, have been committed by the Ukrainian government and justifying the occupation. But no crime was detected. Therefore, Russia's invasion of Ukraine cannot be justified under the principle of responsibility to protect. If the international community does not hold Russia accountable for false claims of genocide, there will be no limit to how future leaders will use claims of responsibility to protect and corrupt interpretations of norms of humanitarian intervention to undermine the sovereignty of states. Ultimately, these and similar actions today and in the future will lead to the erosion of international law. Thanks very much for your kind interest. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. You have pointed out a very important, a very sensitive issue that are to be responsible to protect is turning to a way of manipulation and humiliation of interference to independent countries. We have two guests from Ukraine right now. We share the same ideas and the feelings. We hope that UN Security Council totally would agree with that, but one of the permanent member is Russia. So this is a dirty game which they play there on the blood of the innocent people. We share. You have echoed our academic knowledge and humanitarian feelings. Many thanks for that.
Thank you. Ali Bilgin Hocam, Oktay Paşam, hürmetler. Sizlerle birlikte olmak güzel. Thank you very much for your contributions. I stopped slide sharing, and I also salute our Ukrainian guests with my wholehearted feelings.
Thank you. Okay, is Professor İlyan Çufu. Is İlyan Çufu here? National Defense University, Bucharest, Romania. I'm afraid his student is going to deliver the speech. deliver the paper.
We see the name of, yes, Yulia Mihalia Dragan. Are you going to present the paper?
Havaalanında olacağını söylemişlerdi.
Yoklar mı?
Burada
Can you hear us? Evet, evet. Yani öğrencisi oluyor.
Lulia. O mu?
Evet, öğrencisi oluyor.
Lulia Dragon, can you hear us? From Bucharest.
mikrofon açamıyorum. Kusura bakmayın.
She cannot turn on the microphone, so not available. We can arrange the session for you tomorrow if we have time available. Okay.
Yetiyor belki açamıyoruz.
Ben de bir emin olamadım.
Shall we wait for a couple of minutes? Biraz bekleyelim bence.
Sordunuz mu hocam yazan?
I cannot open yet.
Yetiyor.
Diğer kişi
Okay, we are taking a few minutes. Maybe you may be successful on opening the microphone.
O şeyi demiştim. Niye tutacağım demiştim. Yani buna da konuşmayı yapmıştır.
Okay, please continue to contact with us. We can arrange a session for you tomorrow or in the afternoon. Gregory Zoltan Bax is also
There's a problem. It's connected to MS Teams.
also have problems to connect Teams.
Okay, yes. Is he available right now?
Okay, these two speakers, Ionian Shufu and Gregory Bas Zoltan, please continue to contact us. We can arrange your sessions in the afternoon or tomorrow if we can. Now I'm turning on the question and answer session. If you have any questions, please forward it and we can make it. And also please direct your questions to the speakers, or you can make some additional comments if you would like to. Yok benim sorum.
No question?
Okay. No comment.
Yeah. Maybe I can ask a question to Gökhan. Okay. First of all, thank you very much for your good presentation. That's very nice. But my question is about the responsibility to protect that doctrine. Is it adopted by the UN Security Council? I mean, it has a power or authority to do something? Or is it just a General Assembly, UN General Assembly doctrine accepted by the, not a resolution, doesn't have a power? That's my understanding, actually.
Yes, sir. It's not enforced or adopted by the UN Security Council, the principle of responsibility to protect was mainly adopted by the International Commission on Intervention and State Sovereignty, ICISS, in 2001, sir. According to this notion, any state is primarily responsible for protecting its own people or the people of another country from crimes against humanity, ethnic cleansing, or etc. But of course, I would like to highlight with this research 2 or 3 important points, significant points. One is that even though there is a notion in international security such as responsible to protect, but Russia has no right to apply this on the sovereign and independent Ukrainian territory, Ukrainian state, since no crime was detected by the Ukraine government against the people living in Donbas. That's why that's one of the most important points. And another one is so Russia has no right with this regard to protect those people living in the Ukrainian independent Ukrainian territory, but Russia himself is committing war crimes, ethnic cleansing, and other mass atrocities in an independent state territory. This is not acceptable. So we can see the impacts of these violations in the international security regarding politics, law, international law, etc. Lastly, in the Israel assaults in the Gaza Strip and Israel violations of the law of war, the international law, and everything. So these kinds of notions had not been discussed in an international forum like United Nations, for example, General Assembly, then these notions will be void in the future, and besides, these notions will be used or misused, by those states running at the back of their national interests unlawfully and unlimitedly. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, my point is that that doctrine is adopted in 2005, I think, earlier, and then several times some draft resolution were brought into United Nations Security Council decision, but none of them was accepted. All of them were rejected, either by Russia or together with China, or just only Russia.
Exactly.
First of all, it was initiated for the situation in the Syria, and Western countries, I mean, the United States and United Kingdom initiated those drafts. Russia vetoed, Russia rejected. But for the Ukraine, situation in the Ukraine and the Donbas, if the Russia initiated something else, and then the Western country, not including the United States or the other permanent members will reject. That is just something, that dilemma, Now the Russia is exploiting a Western tool. That is an interesting situation. That is my point.
Exactly, sir. Yes, I fully agree with you. Thank you, sir.
We call it sarcastic situation.
Yeah, sarcastic.
Quite a sarcastic situation.
Yeah.
The
I
term
like why.
sarcastic that doesn't have a meaning in Turkish. We don't have any word meeting the meaning of sarcastic, but to explain what sarcastic is that situation.
Exactly.
That also shows the maybe informative power of the Russia that uses that doctrine, for its interest. At the same time, Russia also uses, for example, special operation or something for the Ukraine attack to the Ukraine. That is also from the informative side or part of the information warfare. That is I can say that that's the successful. I mean, the
Methodology
of the Russia.
Yes, sir.
Of course, we are supporting Ukraine. No problem, for the supporting Ukraine.
Please make your comment.
Thank you very much, Professor, for your intellectual contribution to our session. My short comment will be to the term you used as Russian false claims. And you just offered one of the massive examples Russia is using as information warfare weapons, blaming victims, blaming opponents in things Russia is doing itself. And under the framework of the hybrid war or information psychological operations, this is just one of many examples of this Russian strategy of false claims. Thank you very much for this vivid example.
Thank you, sir. I also thank you for your comment. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Okay. If there's no additional comment or question, okay, we have one additional.
Our last presenter sent us the document because there is a technical problem.
Yeah.
So he cannot attend the meeting, so he would like us to read the document. So,
Ama ya öyle bir siyasetimiz yok. Okuyamıyorsa okuyamıyor ya.
what's your point? Yes. It's a paper.
It's a paper. We have time.
We have time.
O da PowerPoint değil mi?
Word.
Maybe I have another question to the first the presenter for lecture. First one. I think Mr. Tanber.
Tanvir and Shahida Hasan.
Yes, our Pakistani colored.
No, from India. From India.
From India. Yeah, that was nice. Their briefing also was a very, a good briefing, comprehensive briefing. But do you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. But I got the impression that from your briefing, for the underdeveloping countries, or for the failed states, or the poverty, underdevelopment in the global south, are the consequence of the colonial period, just the colonial period. For everything, for poverty, famine, or something else, in the less developed country, are the consequence of the colonialism. West responsible for everything. Is there any responsibility for the country itself, for the India, for the global South countries, for the Turkey, for another country? Emanating from the domestic dimension of those countries. or just the West's responsibility? Everything is bad is the West's responsibility. That was my impression from your briefing. Do you have an idea?
No, no. I meant that there are certain colonial legacy. It's not that all is colonial legacy, because see, I also mentioned that how fast China is progressing. Recently, you must have heard about the TikTok is the US Congress is trying to ban TikTok from Russia, the ByteDance. Yeah, because the view, the ideas that it is flourishing in US is not being accepted by the Western polity, and they're trying to. This is an alternate app that is highly successful. It is competing with the ideas of applications like text reader. So there is a concerted effort that these ideas are not accepted.
We cannot hear you properly. Okay.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, yes, right now
Yeah.
it's good.
Yeah, so I was just trying to tell that it's not all of clear legacy. I also mentioned how China has been, surpassing it's being, top 30 partner for the 120 countries. But the colonial legacy certainly has a lot to do with the current status of global south. I would like to also consider an example. For example, Twitter is highly successful, but equally successful is TikTok. But because TikTok is giving out an idea which is not even with West, so there's a concerted effort in US, and even US Congress is trying to ban TikTok and forcing ByteDance, the parent company of TikTok, sell off the company to a US enterprise. So similar competition is going on because they are not ready to cede power. So now my whole idea is that there is a need today to share equitable control of larger framework of controlling authority, be it technological companies, be it equitable distribution of resources, be it power sharing. Just as you mentioned, Dr. Prasita mentioned about United Nations Security Council. The 5 members are not ready to seek control. Now, these are post-Second World War contribution, but even today. Am I audible? Yeah, so these are my questions. This is not just colonial legacy, but conflict, the prevailing conflict have been a part and parcel of colonialism, and together the global south needs to move ahead, move beyond the Westphalian order, as I said, and Henry Kissinger said that the Westphalian order was decided in a peace conference in German city, where no larger continents and other countries were participating, and this finally led to the local international order. So the whole framework needs to be redefined for equitable sharing. That is my goal.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Ahmed, thank you for your presentation. I have one question also regarding your presentation. In the early phase of the presentation, you have mentioned that Russian concerns in Eastern Europe lies at the core of the Ukraine conflict. Can you please elaborate on this? Do you mean the NATO expansion or the European Union expansion?
NATO won't expand beyond a point, and the Eastern Europe would not be a part of NATO. Some authors argue. But recently, more and more countries are being interested to be a part of NATO. Recently, Russia had a fear that, my countries that are bordering Russia, maybe the control of NATO, and that could lead to disintegration of Russian countries as a whole. And these fears have a major role to play in its aggression towards its eastern neighbors. So that was my idea that its concern were not properly addressed, and more attention could have been there to provide discussion towards its concern, and Eastern European should have been there. That was part of the point that I made in that presentation.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, before concluding, I'm gonna note that we have 2 missing. One is Ian Chufi. The title was Russian War of Aggression and Perspectives of the Wider Black Sea Region, Further Studies and Alternative Scenarios. This paper is not presented. And also the other was Bugs Grigori Zoltan, some aspects of the ongoing conflicts in the Balkan and the Black Sea region. Please, these two participants continue to contact with us. If we can make it possible, we are going to allocate a room for you in the afternoon or tomorrow. But anyway, we would be glad to hear you from the screen.
Yeah, I
Okay.
can answer to you.
Good afternoon. If I can say something regarding the presentation for Mr. Kifu today, he cannot connect, so therefore we have two presentations, one by himself, meaning the one for today, and the other one, which is for tomorrow, I should present. However, if I can allow for the presentation for today to present it tomorrow, so therefore two presentations.
Okay, you can make it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Okay, I'm gonna conclude this session, the first session. The second session in the afternoon, we are going to take a lunch break right now until 13:45. The second session titled Military Threat, Perceptions of the State in the Black Sea region and the Balkans will start at 13:45. Thank you very much for your participation.